All right, man. How you doing, brother?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm like over on the.
So where are you from, man? Where are you out of? Because it said PA, what, Pennsylvania on your
I was
IMDb?
born in Pittsburgh, but I've been working in LA for about 17 years now, something like that. Yeah.
Wow, man. So you've been out there for 17 years. Did you start out as a director? Did you direct your own stuff? That was
Yeah.
how you were doing it, or?
Yeah. I'd already directed a film in Pittsburgh before I moved, and I moved out to kind of start the process of trying to get that film distributed. I knew I was going to have to be in LA, to to work on that. So yeah, I came out in 2005
Mhm.
and ended up, took a while. I was a PA on a lot of TV shows and some sitcoms and stuff. And then I managed to get that first film with a distributor, and that distributor gave us some money for a second film. I went back to Pittsburgh to shoot that. And then around 2010, I shot my first solo feature out here in LA, and I've just been working here ever since.
Nice.
Yeah.
So hold on. So the first feature you did, what genre was it?
It was like a black and white gothic kind of silent film, almost like Nosferatu style. We
Okay.
did it. That was like a real art house kind of thing. Um, and luckily I found the one distributor who was probably going to put that out and take a chance on that, because it was definitely not normal. And then my second film was a talkie. Actually, it was in color and everything I've done since. But I'm just getting ready, hopefully, to shoot a film in March or April that's going to be black and white. I'm going back to doing a black and white film, but this time it'll be in 4K and you know, with great sound and everything.
Well, that's interesting. So you went and just shot this feature.
Yeah.
Did you do it with your own money? Did you get somebody to invest money? How did that work?
No, I had a co-director, a co-producer named Mike McCown. He and I were childhood friends, and I
Okay.
moved on and come back, and we decided to get back into this filmmaking thing again. Like we'd made little horror movies and action films and stuff as teenagers, and we decided to get back into it for real. So we self-funded, which meant we could film for a day or two, and then we'd have to take like 4 months and work and earn some
Yeah.
more money to pay everybody and come back and stuff. So that film probably took 2 years to shoot off and on. Um,
Okay. Oh wow. Okay. Took
yeah,
a little
and
time
based
then.
on people's availability and stuff like that. But we were able to shoot we shot in a place called Dixmont, which was a lunatic asylum that was built in 1888 in Pittsburgh and
Mhm.
had been closed in 1988. So we're filming in early 2000s. So it's been abandoned for 20 years and it's a ruin and everything. It was an incredible space to film in. We filmed in abandoned steel mills, abandoned houses, any place we could find that was old and decrepit. We would sometimes with permission, sometimes without, get into and shoot some stuff.
Guerrilla style.
Yeah.
So that's crazy, man. You don't hear that too often, being in the filmmaking space that you went and made something on such a, probably a small budget, shooting
Yeah.
over the weekends and then
Yeah.
getting it distributed. So when you got it distributed with the distributor, they actually put up money for your second one.
Yeah,
And
a little bit, not much, but a little bit.
how much did they put up for it for you? How much did
Oh,
they
it was like a couple $1,000s. It was almost just enough to get me back to Pittsburgh, put me up for a bit, bring in it was a small film. It was mostly one location. It was mostly two actors. So it was a
Okay.
simple thing we were able to do pretty quickly.
Okay. So basically got you rolling, got the ball going.
Yeah.
Are you and your partner still working together as far as the when you first started or no?
Yeah, we are off and on. We reached a point where we decided we both needed to be directors on our own things. So
Okay.
Mike is, I went on and did House of Bad and then End Times and Possession of Man, and we'll get into all that.
Yep.
Mike went on and shot a film I wrote called Survival Knife, and which takes place. It's like the heroine of the slasher movie. In the beginning of our movie, she kills the bad guy who's killed all her friends, and then it's
Uh-huh.
a movie about her trying to put her life back together after like all your friends have been axe murdered. Like how does your life go back to normal after that? So he directed that a couple years ago. That came out yeah, like I don't know, 2016 or 17 or something. And we're just starting to talk about working on another one together. Maybe to get the band back and stuff. It'd be fun.
That's cool, man. That's pretty cool. Is he still out there in Pittsburgh or is
He's in
he?
Pittsburgh. Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
all right. So it's kind
He
of
does a
gives you
lot of video work there.
it give you an excuse to go back home. Is
And, and
that
yeah, and any excuse, honestly, for me to go back to Pittsburgh, I'll take and stuff. I love the town.
Yeah.
It's just gotten cooler in the decade or two since I've been gone, so it's always fun to go back and see everybody. And you know, in LA, the thing you realize, especially when you do sort of genre stuff like I do, is like, first of all, everything's been shot out. Like, you know,
Yeah.
Union Station downtown has been shot out, and you know, Griffith Park has been shot out, and Bronson Canyon, the Batman Cave has been shot. You know, Pittsburgh, there's still a lot of places you can go, and no one's ever rolled a camera there, and so you can capture these unique vistas and things and stuff, and it's just got a lot of character too.
Yeah, you seem like you got that very artistic vibe, man. But you
Yeah,
seem like you mix the business pretty good. So you've been doing it for, you said 20 years, 17 in LA?
yeah. I mean, we basically shot our first film in like 1999 or so.
Okay.
Like our first, we shot a film and kind of abandoned it, but yeah, so it's been like 25 years now, almost practically. I've been doing this, and like, you know, the last 15 or something exclusively. Like, this is just my job. So, you know, it takes, you know, if anybody younger usually asks me for advice, I say, you know, you got to be patient with yourself. It doesn't happen overnight usually. And when you hear about overnight successes, like, you know, actors, filmmakers, what have you, it's usually not really an overnight success. There was a lot of time leading up to that moment where something clicked and that person kind of shot up into the public space.
Yeah, because of something they did, and it looks like that
Something clicked.
overnight success. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
man. I
yeah.
can dig it. Yeah. Or they had experience and then they went to YouTube or something and then they broke out because they had that type of experience. So what's LA like for you, man? So you coming from Pittsburgh, going over to LA, that's got to be a pretty crazy transition, especially with the filmmaking aspect, diving into that because you went from like a stream to
Yeah.
like a fucking ocean that's like full of sharks and craziness.
Yeah, you know, it's really like you know, you're a decent sized fish in a smallish pond, and then
Yeah.
you get into like the big pond, like the big pond, and you're nobody. You're starting over again. You're one of however many other people. And I think, you know, one thing you have going for you if you're a filmmaker as opposed to a performer
Mm.
is, you know, when you're an actor and you move to LA, you're one out of, you know, 500,000 people here probably, you know, working in front of the camera. When
Mm.
you're a, a director or a writer or something like that, you're maybe one out of 10,000, which is still bad odds. It's tough odds, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And there's less jobs as a director than there would be as an actor. So the competition's even tougher. So maybe it's not that much easier after all, but it at least, you know, you're the one thing, you're not going to show up at a cattle call. You're not going to show up for a part and there's 70 other people that look
Please
just very
hire me.
similar to
It's
you.
like, please
Yeah,
hire me.
which is that's dehumanizing. That's
Yeah.
hard on people, I think.
And I think you coming from that background of actually making your own stuff is really cool because you can just like go, you know what? Fuck it. Like, I'm gonna get some money together and shoot something and see what
Yeah.
happens, right?
Yeah. You know, you're by nature a self-starter, so you're not just sitting waiting for a phone to ring or an email to happen or what have you. You're I'm just used to making my own things happen. And really almost all my films, like with one exception, one or two exceptions maybe, nothing's ever fallen into my lap. No one's ever just send me a message and be like, "Hey, we want you to make this movie. We help us," and stuff. You know, I
Yeah.
a few times I've, you know, had someone be like, "I know the guy who could do this kind of thing," for like a documentary or two or something like that. Just, you know, the thing you realize is like there's a lot of people who have healthy egos out here. The
Mhm.
amount of people who really have the skill set required to take a film from an idea to completion to distribution, um, and really make that happen, that's a smaller amount of people. And as you go on, what I found is there's an attrition too, where x amount of people just say, you know what, this is too hard. I could make a better living doing anything else practically than this. And the amount of rejection, the amount of criticism you get, you know, you work your ass off for 2 years 3 years on something, and it comes out and you'll just have someone on IMDb or something be like, this sucks.
It's
And that's it.
crazy, dude.
That's their whole
Yeah.
that's their whole analysis on something that took you all this blood, sweat, tears, time to make. It's easy to do. It's easy to dismiss, right?
Yeah.
It's harder to generate. It's harder to create.
Yeah. It's definitely you can't feed into that I would say feed into the comments of what they're comparing it to, right? Because they're comparing it to like
Well,
Marvel or these
yeah,
big
yeah.
movies. They got these,
Or
they've got what 40 million, and then they
or
got A budgets for 40. Go ahead, man.
Yeah. I mean, you're making something for 150,000 or 300,000, and they want to compare it to John Wick or something, which is like $40 million, and you're like, it's. I always say, like, that's not even apples and oranges. That's like oranges and cinder blocks. It's not even remotely the same thing.
It's
So
crazy.
yeah. But at the same time, you don't want to release something and say, well, give us credit. We didn't have much money. Like, I want my smaller budget indie films to perform on a level and look and sound on a quality level very close to the stuff you'd see on Netflix or something if you watched, whatever. We don't have the moving parts that they do. We can't, we don't have the access to as many special effects, stunts, squibs, helicopters, what have you, So the answer to that is you try to write just a compelling story that doesn't need those things. You try to, I mean, you have to be creative. By nature, you have to be creative and resourceful and look at the assets you have at hand, or what you can beg, borrow, steal, pull a favor and work with that. Yeah.
That's fucking cool, man. So let's jump a little bit. So you were working as a PA, you were working on these small projects, TV stuff, just probably scrimping, scraping, trying to get some credits and meet people.
Yeah.
And then you shot another feature in between. How did that work for you?
Yeah. I came out and I worked on my first. I was the set PA for the Reba McEntire TV show, the sitcom where she was like the
Okay,
soccer
yeah.
mom. Remember, I did the
Yeah,
last season of that, and I got in with like a great bunch of crew, and that's a real learning experience too, because you can learn how to kind of make a movie your own way, but then to be with a group of people and seeing how they do it, like the established way of doing it, and then you can go like, oh, that makes sense. Of course you do it this way. This is the process. This is the approved, workflow. But then you also look at like the waste, and you look at how much money is spent on things that never end up on screen and what have you. And you go like, okay, well, whatever. But also learning how a team works together, how a real crew. So when I would go on and have a crew
Mm-hmm.
under me, it's nice. It was nice to have an example like someone like Reba McEntire, who was the coolest lady you could imagine. Anyone could say hi to her or talk to her. There was none of the weird don't make eye contact bullshit stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
She was on time, prepared, knew her lines, ready to go every time. So when the person who's the show's named after is like that, nobody else gets away with not being like that, right? You set the bar. And in my own small way, in filmmaking, in my films, that's what I try to do. I try and show up ready to go, ready prepared, ready to talk to anybody, listen to ideas, and then nobody else gets away with being a dick, really. That's the hope, because I want to run a show like that. So yeah, so I did that show. I worked on a show with Bob Saget for a while, which is great. He's awesome. He was awesome too. Uh, and meanwhile, I'm writing my own scripts and I'm working on stuff. And you couldn't, like I'm writing horror movies and stuff. So you couldn't. What I was trying to do couldn't be more different from like a suburban multi-camera sitcom, right? I mean, it's again, it's like apples and oranges, but
you can really learn a lot from it, like you said. There's a lot
yeah,
you can learn from it, definitely.
right. So yeah, and then doing that, and then I finally got together with a guy I worked on just like some indie films with, like a friend's film, and he and his wife were interested in producing something, and we got together and we started talking, and I wrote House of Bad while I was a PA on some other sitcom. I can't remember, over on the Warner Brothers lot. Like I'm sitting there at my desk writing my own script, and we made House of Bad in, like, I don't know, like it was like 2010, I think, or something like that. And I think it came out in 2012. I want to say it's been a while now. We just got the rights back to it. So yeah, that makes sense. It came out in 2013 or something like that. And we got the rights back to it now. So we're gonna that was released through a smaller distributor, and now we're gonna hopefully re-release it through another, like, Film Hub or something like that.
Film Hub's great, man.
Yeah.
Film Hub's great. Yeah,
They seem great so far. Yeah. I've had some conversations, and it's nice to, like, have that capability. Like, you create something and it goes out there, and House of Bad did really well. It sold like crazy in Walmarts over Christmas and stuff. We did pretty well on that. But then the first year or two it does really well, and then it's just somewhere on Tubi or something like that. It's not really generating anything for you. And what you want is that passive income, right? Like you want the thing you create to keep earning for you, so you can keep creating more stuff. So now it's out there, and we have the chance to hopefully put it out again next year. along with Survival Knife and some of my other properties too. So it's a cool thing that these things you create have a continuing life to go on and on and on.
Yeah, they're almost like little pieces of like property, you
Yeah,
know. It's
yeah, like kids, you know,
an-
except your kids don't pay you money, but except for they still do the same
oh,
thing.
yeah, yeah, your kids,
Yeah,
yeah.
kids just
Oh, it
cost you money,
costs
right? I
you
think.
money.
Yeah.
Kids cost you money. Do you got any kids?
I don't have any kids. I have a cat, and I'll tell you, he costs me money. So yeah,
I got four
every trip
kids.
to the vet, right?
No, kids definitely cost you money, man. So let me ask you this, man. Let's touch on the martial arts stuff because my
Yeah.
stuff is definitely action genre. I love the action genre. Don't get me wrong. I started in the paranormal and horror and all that.
Mm.
Like the first feature I ever did was House Guest Massacre, and we
Oh, right.
shot that in 2013 with you ever seen Chucky, the Child's Play
Yeah.
stuff?
Yeah. Yeah.
The little kid from that, Andy Barkley, Alex
Oh,
Vincent.
cool. Oh,
Yeah,
right.
we ended up he ended up living in the same city as us in Florida
Oh,
in
right.
in Clearwater and ended up getting him in our movie. But
Oh, that's cool.
let's yeah. So I definitely can relate to the horror stuff. We did the paranormal. I did a show on Amazon, all that stuff. But I love action. You know, I love
Yeah.
Braveheart, Gladiator. I love
Yeah.
martial arts. Let's touch a little bit on that, man. Can you tell me, because you said you worked with a lot of martial artists, who are some of the people you worked
Yeah.
with? And let's dive in on that a little bit.
Yeah. So yeah, I did a couple of horror things, and then I just in like 2020 and 21, I shot a pilot for a martial arts martial arts series
Mm,
called Immortal Fists. And we ended up with like a couple great older martial artists and stuff. We ended up with Gerald Okamura, who I
okay.
don't know if you're familiar. He's the Asian guy. He's bald with the big goatee, and he's in Blade, Big Trouble in Little China, The Octagon with Chuck Norris,
Okay. Okay.
everything. And through that, I started doing a lot of work with the Martial Arts History Museum here in LA, which is this great organization, and they celebrate and continue on the careers of all sorts of martial artists. Like and through that, I got to meet Al Leong from Lethal Weapon and Die Hard, who
Okay.
eats the candy bar in Die Hard, right? You know, and all these great guys. And ironic, for my current film Killer X, I'm about to go shoot with Gerald Okamura tomorrow. We're going to shoot, you know, just a conversation scene. Gerald doesn't do a lot of action anymore. He's in his 70s and he's had heart issues and stuff. But yeah, you know. And then also on Killer X, we have Mohammed Kisi, who used to go by Michael Kisi, who's
Oh,
Tong
yeah.
Po in Kickboxer.
Yeah,
Uh,
he was best friends with Jean-Claude Van Damme,
Jean
right?
Claude. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, he still knows Jean Claude. Yeah. So I got to work with him too, and you know, it's interesting. All these guys they're not 30 years old anymore. I've gotten to meet these guys in their more, you know, senior years. But Muhammad can still. We just did we shot a fight scene that took like an entire day in December for Killer
Mhm.
X, and he just went all day long, all day long. He's like 62 or something like that, but he can. I mean, he can move, and he's gigantic. I mean, he's a big dude. And I never really shoot shots like this, and I just decided to. This is a little outside of my style, but I thought it'd be funny to have him have a shot where he's just punching into the lens, you know, as he's punching the guy and the guy's stumbling back. And so
Mhm.
I'm there with my I shot the whole film, whole film myself. It's my first one I've actually been the cinematographer on. I usually have a DP, but I wanted to get into this one. And so I'm there, you know, with my handheld camera like this, and he's going to the thing. And all I can think was like, this is terrifying. This is what it would feel like if Muhammad Kisi was like punching me in the face over and over and over again. Like, damn, this is really good. But no, you know, I mean, I grew up loving horror movies, but I also grew up, you know, I was born in '74. I'm almost 50, and so like, you know, we saw Lethal Weapon in the theater when it came out, and we saw, you know, Die Hard and stuff, and my buddy's dad brought him and his brothers all down one night, late at night, and it's like, I gotta wake you guys up. It's gonna show again on HBO. I just watched the world's most amazing movie ever. It's called Road Warrior. And so they brought him, so, you know, and I also got to work
Mel Gibson, yeah.
with Vernon Wells, who's the Mohawk biker guy in Road Warrior, and then he's Bennett in Commando with Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yep.
also Steve Bennett. He's the guy. He looks like buff Freddie Mercury in that. Yeah. He's great too, and he's awesome too. He did a few punch scenes that the like, I can imagine like that would have sucked to be on him. But I would make him tell me, we you know, you have breaks between camera setups, obviously, where like, you know, the camera turn's doing something and you have a couple minutes, and I would make Vernon tell me stories about working with George Miller on Road Warrior.
Yeah.
And I'm a nerd for this stuff, so it's like, okay, that one thing where you jump over the thing into the thing, and you headbutt the guy, and there's this frame of white that George Miller puts in there, so you have this feeling of like that impact. I was like, was that on purpose? Was that to cover up, like, did the headbutt not sell and you had to cover? And he's like, no, that was it. He wanted to do that, and it was the plan all along. And I went in the editing room with him, and there he was. And it was really cool.
That's
So
pretty.
it's neat to work with these guys. These guys are so, I grew up watching these guys in movies. And I, training in martial arts, I was a fan of these guys, obviously. But it's also neat to hear their stories too. And Gerald and people like that, these guys get older and they get really good at telling these stories because they've told them a lot.
Yeah.
So it's fun
let's
hearing
hear
Gerald talking about working with John Carpenter on Escape from, or on Big Trouble in Little China.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Let's hear some anything that sticks out from you that they had told you about that you can say.
Trying to think of it. I don't want to tell anything out of school, but okay. So this isn't. So Gerald tells a story about working on Knight Rider, right? With David Hasselhoff.
Oh yeah.
And he was supposed to be part of a motorcycle gang in the show, and they cast him in the show, and he's there working on it on the Universal lot or something, I think. And they're like, okay, now here's the scene where you have to ride a motorcycle. And Gerald's like, dude, I don't travel in anything with less than 4 wheels. I don't do motorcycles. And they're like, oh, well, that's okay. You wear a helmet. We'll find a double for you. So the next day or something like that, Gerald's on the set. And Gerald tells the story much better than me. But and then he runs into Al Leong from Big Trouble in Little China, obviously, but Die Hard and Lethal Weapon as well, with the long hair and stuff. We all know him from Showdown in Little Tokyo and everything. Also the stunt coordinator on the Scorpion King.
Cool.
And Al shows up, and Al's a character. Al's great. And he's like, Gerald's like, what, Al, what are you doing here? And Al's like, they hired some guy who can't ride his own motorcycle, so I gotta fill in for a guy. So it turned out Al was Gerald's riding double for that and like that. These guys, I mean, you could get these two guys in a room and have them just talk story, and they're like a comedy team. They're the funniest guys. All these guys are really funny too. Like, they're all really, like, they had their moment. They did big stuff, and people remember them. And then they go, do their own thing as they they have families and kids and grandkids and everything. But it's just, I'm a nerd like that. I'll just sit and listen to the stories all the time. I don't care. So it's an honor to be able to work with these dudes. And it's, I will say about directing action versus, and martial arts especially, versus horror, is, it's like comedy. It's like it either sells or it doesn't, right? Like, a line is either funny or it's kind of not. I mean, to some degree. And during scary scenes, like, it's scary or it's not. It either works or it kind of doesn't, right? You know it, and then when you finally see it with the sound music, and fight scenes the same way. A punch or a kick or something like that either sells or it looks cheesy, right? And obviously, this is the bar you're up against trying to do this. When you're filming, obviously you do things many times, a couple times, just to make sure that you get it, and then you move a camera and you do a different angle and you get what's called coverage. And if you're shooting a conversation scene with two actors or whatnot, and they're talking, and then in one scene, inevitably the actor will, like, take a drink in between one line, and then you roll again, and inevitably it's in the other hand, or they do it on a different line or something. You run into these continuity issues all the time. When you work with martial artists are trained to do the same thing the same way, exactly the same way, over and over and over again. It's the core of martial arts. You do kata, you do kumite, you do that kind of thing. So when you're doing a fight scene, or even when you're not, even when you're just shooting a dialogue scene, there's a mentality to the martial artist where they're going to figure out how they do it, and they're just going to repeat that every time. And your continuity issues, a lot of them go away. It's really nice because they're gonna kick the same way every single time, because that's how they're trained to do it. It's muscle memory, right? And just trying to get a young actor who's running away from something or something like that in a horror movie to fall at the same moment, or to do the thing and not be sort of subject to the whims of acting, like where they are emotionally in the moment and stuff. It's a little more of a machine, and it's a lot of fun to do, and it's just amazing being on set with men and women who can do just these incredible, moves and stunts and stuff that, at 50, I'm not able to do much of that anymore. But Elena Churinova, our star on Killer X, is this lovely blonde girl from Russia, woman, I'm sorry. She's a great fighter. She has great acting chops. She's emotional and stuff like that. But like, she's done full body burns, and it's like,
Wow.
like I think when someone's done stuff like that, like they're not as prone to complain if lunch shows up 15 minutes late. You know what I mean? Like there's a perspective.
Yeah, yeah. You gotta appreciate
They're a little more easygoing about the small stuff. Yeah. It's like, I've been on fire. If you breathe in, you burn your lungs, right? It's this whole thing. So I find that fascinating. And I love being around people that can do things that I can't even dream of doing. It's really fun. But having a martial arts background to some degree, it's nice because I like to say I know enough to be dangerous. Like I know I can sort of demonstrate what I'm hoping they can do, just have them do it better and smoother, more powerfully than me. But yeah, it's fun. I've really enjoyed merging into this genre from horror in the last few years.
When you working with Michael Kesey, on it's your latest project, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. What's it called?
It's called Killer X.
Killer X. Okay, that's the one with you working with the blonde.
Yeah.
Now was there a lot of fights in this? And how long was he on set? Like, did you have to deal with him for weeks on end, or was he just in for a couple days?
Couple days. He came in from Amsterdam, I think, or Morocco. I'm not sure. He lives between those two places. And we actually shot his stuff in pickups. He was supposed to come in June when we shot most of the film. And there was just an immigration issue and stuff, and he wasn't able to make it. I woke up at 6 a.m. The day we were supposed to shoot with him, to like 27 text messages from my producer, like just melting, just and I was like, I've been here before, because he's our name, right? I mean, he's our name now. I was like, you know what, we'll work this out, we'll figure this out. It's probably gonna cause some issues, but we figured it out, and we did. It took some while. And then I went back. We filmed mostly in New Jersey and Philadelphia area.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah. Some great locations and stuff. Just, you can go there and like just talk to somebody who owns a pizza restaurant and be like, "Can we film in your place?" And they're like, "Yeah, sure." Can you put the name in the sign?
Yeah. They're not used to it,
You don't do that in LA. Yeah, no.
Yeah. They're like, "Oh, yeah, how much does it pay?"
Yeah. And oh, by the way, NCIS has it booked out for the next 2 months. They'll just book it out just to make sure no one else films there. LA is not a friendly filming location town for indie film. It's geared towards studio television and film production. It's not really. No one's really looking to help out the little guy out here, is what I found. So that's why I really like filming on location. But anyway, to answer your question, so I went back in December, just last month, and we ended up doing like 4 days of pickup shooting, and Muhammad was there for 2 of those. Came in and did all his dialogue scenes one day, and then he did all his fight scenes the next day, and wrapped out, and we were done. That was it. It was short and sweet, but you kind of get to know people quickly, like in doing stuff like that. Like you show up like, "Hi, Muhammad, I'm Jim. It's nice to meet you. I'll be having you sit over here and say these words," and that's it. And you're off and running. It's really funny. It's like,
was he pretty chill on set?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, totally cool. And came in with a lot of great ideas. Sometimes ideas from actors, or as a director, you go like, okay,
you don't want to
shut it down, I guess. But when someone like him, you're talking about someone who's just got so many decades of experience that he can take an idea on the page and say, well, if we do it this way, maybe it goes a little better and stuff. And not always, it's not like all his ideas were like, here, I would look cooler doing it this way. Some of them were hilariously funny. Like he just said, what if instead of coming out, I kind of like peek out like that, and for a guy his size, it's just funny. So yeah, I mean, he came wanting to be a creative partner and play a lot. And he was wonderful. He was wonderful to everybody. We did some great stuff, and yeah, we're happy to have him in the film. It was really an honor working with him.
That's cool, man. When is that one coming out?
Yeah, probably. I would would hazard that later this year. I think it's going to be out on video and probably some select theatrical stuff.
So you're not going to keep the rights to it? You're going to give it up to a distributor? Is kind of your goal with it?
Well, you always do. You make a deal with a distributor for your film, and it's for 6 years, 8 years, 10 years, what have you.
Mhm.
You get a certain amount of money in advance based on what they think it's gonna make, whether it plays on Netflix or Hulu or Tubi or Amazon Prime or what have you now, are basically the big players in the game. Yeah, and then overseas, and I think, especially when you deal with martial arts, overseas is a big part of your potential income. Eastern Europe is nuts for action stuff. Like you get to, Poland, Hungary, Yugoslavia, Greece, Turkey, places like that, or like so many of these places. My understanding is that, a generation spent so much time not being able to access American stuff because they're behind the wall and Soviet occupation and all that during the Cold War.
Mhm.
They kind of missed the golden age of American action stuff. Schwarzenegger, Stallone,
Oh,
all that stuff. Uh, so now there's this kind of mystique about it in a way, and there's kind of, and I've met some of these guys that come like, oh no, you do this, I am so obsessed with this. It's great. It's just I don't know about people who like or into like romantic comedies or something like that, but like I don't know if there's like this collector mania with romantic comedy. Like I don't know if people who like rom-coms need to see every single rom-com and like have them on DVD on their
I don't
shelf.
know. I love rom-coms, man. They're my
but my point is the horror and action culture is like that, and that's a great thing. Is that they, you run into guys who like and girls who are like, no, I've seen all of them. I've seen all the Hereditary movies. I've seen all the John Wicks. And I have the box set that has the motorcycle on it. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's great. And that's, as a creator, that's great, because that means that, look, like you make money streaming, but you really do make your most money on physical media. And as much as people talk about physical media going away, there's still a lot of evidence that its audience has shrunk, but that audience is still really intent on having those movies to be able to watch when they want to watch them and not have a random studio, like we've heard, suddenly just like pulling these shows or movies and have them not be accessible. And as a filmmaker, you want to have your movies. I mean, I have one shelf that just has copies of my films on them. I mean, you want to have a physical media thing. I did a zombie film a couple years ago, and it just came out earlier last year, called End Times. And it came out through the Asylum, who
my
brought
brother's
Sharknado. But it's a bit of a serious film for them. Even people made a comment like, this is kind of a dramatic film for the Asylum, but hey, but they gave us a great deal, and they got it out. But at this point,
they bought your film.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. For like, yeah. I mean, they don't buy. They rent it, right? For 10 years, they have all the rights to it, and overseas and everything. But we heard that there might not be plans for it to be put on any kind of physical media, and that would be my first film that didn't have a DVD or a Blu-ray release, which is like, kind of wish. Like I could make some kind of deal and have like at least like a limited release and stuff, because you want part of your library. It's your creation. It's like if you write a book, you want your book on your shelf, right?
Did you have a sales agent for that?
What do you say?
Or did you have a sales agent for that, or is that something you hooked up?
We did not. We did not go through a sales. I've gone through sales agents before for my films, but we didn't for that. We had my producer Jamie Bernadette already had an existing relationship with the company through another film she'd done. So she just reached out to them, and it didn't happen overnight. It took some time to make the deal happen, but it finally did. It was great.
So you'd say a lot of it's based off of relationships, a lot of the deals that you have made in the past with those films, or
yeah. I mean, the more you can build those relationships up and keep them in good working order and not do something that jeopardizes them or messes them up, the better. Yeah. Cause you want, it's nice to be able to just email somebody at a company and be like, hey, Barry, how's it been going? How's your daughter doing? Something. And by the way, I have this film I'm about to be finished with, and I was wondering if you take a look at it. And then you're not anonymous, man. You're not just throwing it on the top of the pile. or at the bottom of the pile or something there, for them to see. So, it's when early in my career, I had an older guy tell me, he's like, look, just, there's like three things, right? There's be talented, be good at what you do, like work hard to be good at what you do. Be nice to work with, right? Be somebody people actually enjoy and stuff like that, and just do what you say you're going to do in a reasonable amount of time, like you say you're going to do it. And it's like, if you can do those three things, you're in like the 10th percentile of most fields, because usually, you have people that are super talented, but like nobody wants to work with them. They're an egomaniac, or they're a pain in the ass, or even if your films aren't perfect, then but if you're just a nice guy to work with, people will want to keep working with you, at least. I mean, and they'll work for you, maybe for not as much as they normally get, if they, and this goes to the talented thing, if they people, I've had people do my films that have no business being in my movies, but like I send them a script, and they're like, I like this character, I really would like to play this character, let me know how we can work this out. Like okay, it's
That's
great.
cool, man.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, you seem really down to earth, man. Just talking to you
Thanks.
here. Yeah, you seem pretty chill, and I can definitely tell why. I mean, you're still working. Like you said, it's a crazy business to continue to work and still create and actually make a little money at it. It's
And it's frustrating. And then you have something like COVID happens, and like we were ready to. I was on the phone with my cinematographer for Mortal Fists in March of 2020, and we were talking about cameras and lenses and things, and other movies as reference styles and stuff. And I got home, and my wife was like, "We're in lockdown," and we knew it was coming, but it kind of came out of nowhere in LA a little bit. It sort of surprised everyone, and it was like, that was it. 6 months, everything went on hold. So, I mean, that's a big example of a setback, but you always have all sorts of little setbacks. And I've had films, not recently, but in the past, I've had films that were like 3 days away from starting to shoot, and suddenly I can't get the financier on the phone, and they go quiet, and suddenly now I'm emailing everybody, hold on, we're not filming, what's going on and stuff. So yeah, I mean, you have to really want to do it. You have to really and you have to have a support structure. My wife is fantastic. She does not work in the film industry, but she's a great rooter, and she'll call me on my stuff, which is good. You need that, but also she won't let anyone get away with disrespecting me, and she'll be like, no, you don't deserve to be treated like that by this person. You're better than this, and everything. It's great, and that's the other thing. Yeah, I mean, I know guys and girls who maybe don't have that support stuff, and it makes it much harder. It's great when you have, you got to believe in yourself, and it helps when someone else is there believing in you too.
Yeah, it's definitely good having that backing, man, especially in this type of industry. It's yeah, man, it's a lot of hard work, and then it's a lot of nights where you don't know if something's gonna work, or something cancels, and you're trying to scramble to figure everything out. Or
and once you get on set, there's a lot of problem solving. You're shooting, and you're kind of minute by minute, you're working with everybody to like whatever fire is going on to put it out. But to me, that's better than like the night before. It's the night before going to bed, and you got to wake up at 7 a.m. or 6 a.m. or 5 a.m. or whatever, and like it's like trying to get to sleep that night before, and putting it all out of your mind is such a hard thing to do, because you've been spending the last weeks doing nothing but thinking about this one thing, and then the last minute you have to kind of forget it and get some rest. So I've walked on the film sets the first day of shooting with like 3 hours of just like, okay, let's make the movie.
That's funny, man. So so Immortals was the TV show, right? That you were
Immortal Fists. Yeah, we're just sort of working with producers right now to pick that up, and
so you never got to shoot it?
No, we did shoot it. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We shot it over an entire summer, and it started out as being one thing that says it started out as being short form content, like Quibi was a thing at that point, and then as we were shooting, we started learning how Quibi was folding and was not succeeding. And then short form content post COVID was just not a thing. They realized it wasn't a thing people wanted. They thought it was, and it wasn't. People wanted to binge shows. They wanted to the longer format stuff. So the format of the thing changed midstream, and that caused a lot of hustling and everything. But that was a great experience. I worked with Will Ford, who I've worked with on a lot of things. He was in Karate Kid 3. He's like the
Okay,
main
yeah.
guy's like assistant guy. He was like 16 at the time. I know Gerald through him. I mean, that's how I met him. So Will and I both live in the South Bay of Los Angeles. So, I cast him in something years and years ago, just like a test shoot for something. And he shows up. Yeah, he's got the hair and everything, man. He just did a film with Holly Hunter and stuff. I mean, he's back. He's doing stuff, and he's been like a long time collaborator of mine, and I really cherish like the working partnership we have. We've done a whole series together called 52 Masters. It's on Amazon. It's on Freebie on Amazon, like the sub thing, where
What's
he
that
trains
about?
with a different martial art style every episode, and we've done like 40 some episodes or something like that. It's fun.
That's really cool. I'll have to check that out. And they can find that on Amazon?
Yeah, it's a bunch of the episodes are on Amazon. Yeah, and I
So
think
what
it's on
was
YouTube as well. I think you can find it on YouTube. 52 Masters.
did you release that or did you have somebody else release it?
No, that came out through the same production company as Immortal Fists. That came out through Golden Media Group.
Okay. And
Most of
so
it.
he does 52 Masters. So basically, what are some memorable moments from that, man? Because he must have did did he do jujitsu, kung
Yeah,
fu, a little
yeah.
bit everything?
Did BJJ. I worked. We did an episode with one of the Gracies. That was really cool. And like Will's a big dude, and the Gracie dude made him look like a child. I'm like, how? I wasn't there for the filming. I'm just like in the post office, and I'm like, how big is that guy? That guy doesn't even need martial arts. He's like 6'7". That's ridiculous. He's a
Which
huge
Gracie
Brazilian.
was
Right?
it? Do you know?
Which one?
Do you know what Gracie it was or no?
I can't remember. It's out there. So I
Was it
think
Grace or no? I'll have to look into it. Yeah.
yeah.
Maybe I'll put a clip of it.
Yeah, but we did an episode with Michelle Manu, who's an expert in Lua, which is the true Hawaiian martial art that they did not show to white colonizers when they came, because they kept that secret because that was their secret weapon. He did an episode in Salat, knife fighting and stuff, man. I mean, like just really cool stuff. And what's fun is like, the whole idea is that Will is a 5th degree black belt in his karate, style. And he's reasonably adept at some other things too, but like, he's never done capoeira before.
Okay,
So
yeah.
the idea is like, for everyone to watch and be like, don't be afraid to try something new and suck at it at first. Like, it's okay. Like, I mean, everyone's bad at something the first time. It's okay to be that way. And if you decide something you want to do, you can work harder and get better and better and better. But it's this whole, he's got a whole white belt theory thing that you should not be afraid to try new things and to approach things as a beginner again. It's cool.
That's dope, man. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to check that out. Capoeira, that's Only the Strong.
Yeah. And Mark Dacascos is in that episode briefly. We didn't get to interview him, but he that's where Will trained is the capoeira school that Mark Dacascos goes to.
Really? I heard he's a nice guy, man, Mark DaCosta.
Yeah, I hear that too. I've never met him personally. We're hoping to work with him on something kind of soon and stuff. But like just about the time I was hoping to work with him, he's in like John Wick 3, and we're like, okay, well he's out of my range for a little while, but we'll see. We might want to work.
It's not happening, is what you're saying. That's why, yeah.
But I remember seeing way back in 2000, whatever. I remember seeing Brotherhood of the Wolf.
I've never seen
a French film. Oh, dude, Brotherhood of the Wolf is this crazy martial arts werewolf film set in 1700s in France. Christophe Gans directed it. He did the Silent Hill movie. It is off the charts cool. It's just, Jim Henson Company did the creature effects for it. It's super violent, super bloody. But Dacascos plays a Native American friend of the main character that he's brought back from the New World to solve this werewolf problem. And it's a gorgeous looking film, and the martial arts stuff is Phil Kwok, I think, did the martial arts choreography. It's fantastic.
Really? I'm about to check this out now.
Always in my top.
So you're saying it's a 10 out of 10?
It's a 10 out of 10 for me. Yeah, there's not a thing I change about it. It's beautiful.
Would you like most about
Monica
it?
Bellucci's nude in it. I mean, like, there's nothing to hate about that movie.
Hold up, who's nude in it?
Monica Bellucci, the Italian actress.
Talking about beautiful, that girl. Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that movie. It's great. No, it's a cool. It's like a horror movie and an action movie, and it somehow makes like people in colonial garb seem kick ass, which is cool. Like, it's great.
And the fight scenes are all really good in it.
Fight scenes are great. Yeah, they're fantastic. Fantastic to be film stuff. Real stylistic, like 200 frames per second shots of like guys getting, cracked with a bow staff and stuff. Really good, like top notch stuff. It's beautiful.
So
Yeah.
martial arts artistic movie. That's your next style, bro.
That's what I mean. I'd like to try it and stuff like that. It's fun. We had some nice moments on Killer X where he's towards the end of the movie. The big finale takes place in a big warehouse, and there's one fight going on, and Jose Torres, our main character, his character Victor is sneaking through the basement levels, trying to get to where he's going to fight. And we spend like a few hours down in the basement of this warehouse with like just like dim lights and stuff, and him sneaking through kind of things with chains holding and stuff like that. And he's like, you're like getting a little bit of your horror movie kick into this action movie. I was like, yeah, I am actually. It's funny. It comes out when you're not expecting it. But I mean, that's what you sort of create a look that is your thing, and it stops being something, after a couple of films, it stops being something you're conscious of. You're just like, there's a way you're going to put a camera on something, and there's a color of light you decide. I mean, my cinematographer has this whole thing about Jimtown's green. And when I say, can it be Jimtown's green? He knows that kind of off teal green color I'm talking about. He's like, no, I know. It's this old like subsurface aqua, kind of icky green color. He's like, yeah, I know. He loved that. So that's
kind of your vibe.
Yeah. You get to the point where like, that's just gonna be the thing you do. And it's just obvious to you. And unless you decide to try to do something a little different than you normally do, that's just, there's a way you do it. It's like muscle. Like I say, it's like muscle memory.
So do you do the genre films because it's just like, it's sellable because you started in black and white, or do you like more artistic? What's your one project? Like if you could do, like I recently seen this one called, my acting coach had us look at it. The Mozart, or not Mozart. It's with Bradley Cooper, and it's on Netflix right now. They shoot it in black and white. They have
right. Where he's not Gershwin, but yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's very like, do you like that type of artsy type vibe, or you like, nah, I love genre. Like I love horror movies and I love action. Or
well, my argument would be that you get to be more artistic doing genre stuff. You can get away with being really like, I'm sitting here right here on my thing looking at Guillermo del Toro's Devil's Backbone, which is the Spanish horror movie he did before he blew up with Hellboy and stuff. And like, you're not going to see a more beautiful, artistic looking, creepy film than that. I think when you do genre stuff, you get to be more expressive and you get to push colors and textures and, the look of things more than if you're going to direct an episode of like whatever, Sex and the City or whatever is, the ongoing thing. If you're going to do like a romantic comedy with Drew Barrymore in it or something like that, like you're not going to get to embrace that crunch, with rare exceptions, I think. Yeah.
So I recently got to interview Nick Powell, and he was the stunt choreographer of Braveheart, Gladiator, Jason Bourne. Like,
nice. Oh, cool.
Dude, the knowledge from this guy, just listening like talk, like was like phenomenal. I actually dropped a couple clips on my my YouTube channel just recently.
Oh, cool. Yeah, that's I mean Braveheart, they did those things where like when he's hitting someone with a club, they would like take it, and they're still shooting on film at this point, and they would cut out the frame before the contact, and they would double print the frame of the contact, so you get this kind of like moment, and that just sells. There's some hits in Braveheart, like they're just like, oh, they look like they hurt so much. And that's an interesting thing in action where, I have these conversations with my creative partners, where like you're going to do a movie, you're going to do, some fight stuff. And you're like, well, are we doing kind of Hong Kong style where people hit each other 800 times in a fight. And it's and they're still standing. Yeah. Or are we doing a slightly more realistic thing where someone who gets cracked in the face goes down? Because in real life, when you get hit in the face really hard, you're going to fall. Most people are going to fall down. I've only seen one or two people get punched and not, really, really have a reaction to it in my life. And my question is always like, well, I love Hong Kong style, all the chopsaki type stuff. Does it make the fighters seem weak? Like if you're punching someone 100 times and they're not falling down, does that make you seem like you're not hitting them that hard? Does that, how does that work with audiences now? Like, you wonder what like the folks who did that kind of stylistic stuff back then, like if they were still doing stuff now, how would they adapt that or something? Like how would Jackie Chan be doing, how is his style adapted, in more recent years to
I would say
keep
Rush
up with
Hour. I think he was able to do it with Rush Hour a
yeah
little bit, where it was more of like even when I interviewed the guy that Nick Powell about Bourne, he kind of did that with Jason Bourne.
yeah
Because Matt Damon learned how to do kung fu, like
yeah, like a keto maybe or something, or
it wasn't Aikido, but it was in that
I knew
vibe.
they
And
I knew they mixed a lot of stuff. Yeah.
yeah, he said he adapted that, and he said he tried to make the fights adaptable
Mm-hmm.
to as a guy that knew every style.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? The only thing he said that he didn't do in there that he would probably do now would be a little bit of jujitsu that he
Right.
would throw, because it was more of
Yeah.
MMA before, MMA was MMA.
I think it's been hard to work like BJJ into
Mhm.
a lot of action movie stuff for people, except in small amounts. And I've only seen more recently like some of the John Wick films and stuff. Because like, I mean, a lot of BJJ, you end up with two guys on the floor together, like intertwined, and by nature, that's not totally cinematic, right? I mean, you more want to see people
Cool.
standing up and exchanging stuff. So once you're down in like some things, but I think what I see when I've seen it done well is like when a fight starts as kind of fisticuffs and then works
Yeah.
its way down, and then John Wick's like on the ground and he's got the leg, like a figure four leg lock on the guy, and then that's when he is breaking stuff or shooting him point blank in the face.
Yeah, and he
um,
snaps. Then yeah.
Recent series I really like. I like the Wick films. I think it was a great idea, and now we're on chapter 4, and it's like a lot of the same kind of things, which have been some great names and some great fights. But those Extraction films on Netflix with Chris Hemsworth those are like where they do the super like 15-minute long takes, which aren't really 15-minute long takes because there's blends, but it looks like and you're just seeing Chris Hemsworth go through 25 guys, and you feeling his fatigue and how tired he is and stuff. Because I don't know if you've ever been in like a real fight, but like you get tired real damn fast when you're struggling against somebody else, man. It happens quick. Yeah, those are great. The Extraction movies 1 and 2 are really fun, and they're not like there's like just enough story in those movies to like justify the action you're seeing. Like they don't really get. There's an understanding, right? It's like look, and I think they're directed by the guy who was Captain America stand-in fighter guy for the Marvel films and stuff. That guy's gone on to become a filmmaker too. And like him and the John Wick guys and stuff, it's neat seeing all these people like step behind a camera now, and they know the fighting styles so well. They know stunt shooting so well that instead of just directing a second unit, now they're people are giving them whole franchises.
They're definitely like, what's the guy that did the John Wick? Chris something, I think.
Yeah.
His name is. I think, to be honest with you, I think the action genre is coming back in a big way. I think it's almost going to have a new revival, kind of like how horror went through its transition, and it was people think it's dead, but then it gets revived with something good. I feel like it's the same thing, man.
I swear that's just something that people who write articles, like media articles about the genre, do to because what else are they going to say? Like, because it's not interesting to say, hey, this other movie came out and it's really a lot of fun. You should watch it. Like there has to be some kind of conflict or twist or something like that. Like,
But I haven't seen anything in my opinion, I haven't seen anything that I was really drawn to when I was younger, like I was with the blood sport and the kickboxer and things like that, other than like Jason Bourne. I love those when those came out. I like the John Wick. I'm not like super like big John, like I love John Wick. Matrix did a kind of a cool job with bringing something in, but there wasn't nothing like that when Arnold and Stallone and Van Damme
Yes.
were all going, I felt neck and neck. They're almost like they were trying to one up each other on everything, you know?
It was a neat time. I was like, in grade school when all those movies were coming out, and a lot of them were R-rated, and so we were watching them on HBO when parents weren't around and renting them and stuff. And it was fun. I mean, I remember going to. I didn't see it in theaters, but I remember when Conan the Barbarian came out
Okay.
and wanting to see it. And my mom took one look at that poster with him and Sandal Bergman. And
You
she's
know,
like, "You're not seeing this movie. What are you talking? You're like 7." But I ended up seeing it. Obviously, and I do love that movie. But yeah, no, it was like a heyday for the action, and it was really like because there were like, I mean, John Ford had been doing westerns for decades, obviously, and there had been like the '70s style action movies and stuff. But the '80s introduced this like purity into this genre, right? Where like the Commando is really just about a dude with guns and fighting and that again, they dispensed with a lot of things. But then even like in the '80s, you get a movie like Predator, which is really an action movie and a horror movie mashed together.
mm-hmm.
And you get, what's neat is you get to set up how intimidating and powerful these human guys are who are going into the jungle and doing all this stuff like that. And then when you see them start getting taken out one by one, you're like, you're only as the movie's only exciting as the amount of threat there is to your hero. And when you see this creature that is able to take out these guys like they're nothing, you're going like, wow, this is something that's really like worth watching, contending with and stuff. Yeah, man. So yeah, it's a great
What
thing.
would you think about the one that Robert Rodriguez wrote? I think it was oh shoot. It was Predator.
Predators.
Yeah, Predators, man. What'd you
The
think about
one,
that?
yeah, first of all, it's like an amazing cast, right? It's like Adrian
Yeah.
Brody and Lawrence Fishburne's in it, and Danny Trejo's in it for a minute, I think, and some other. Yeah, no, of course Danny Trejo's in it. It's a Robert Rodriguez film. It's like Oliver Megaton, I think, directed that. I thought that was actually a great movie. That's just fun. I mean, for some reason, like the Predator thing seems to be where, and I saw Prey on Hulu when it came out, and I thought Prey was fantastic. Where
I haven't seen
he
that
goes back
one.
to the Native American times.
Oh, okay.
And there's a young female Native American tribe member who the Predator takes out all her people, and she has to contend with this. And it's this, upping the game of like, now she doesn't have guns or anything like that. She has a bow and arrow. She has, I mean, how hard, she's a dog. Like, how hard is this and stuff? So,
is that a movie?
Yeah, it's a movie. It wasn't released in theaters. I think it came out on Hulu.
Okay, I'll have to check
But
that out.
I think it might be on Amazon Prime now as well, or something like that. It might be on like another streaming service you can watch things like that. That's a fantastic film, and it's like, you've got to be able to figure out how this 120, 110 pound female adolescent with a bow and arrow actually manages to survive, this thing. You know what else I saw recently? I mean, I think it qualifies as an action movie. Was 65 with
never seen that.
What's his name? He played. He was in this new Star Wars movies. I'm blanking on his name.
Hayden Christensen?
No, the new Star Wars movies. He plays like Han Solo's
stuff. Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, fantastic. It's about a guy who crash lands on Earth when there's still dinosaurs on it, and he has to rescue this young girl who does not speak English, and try and get to an escape pod when the Earth is about to be destroyed by this asteroid that's coming any minute now. So it's 65 being 65 million years ago, and it's just a movie about a dude with a laser gun fighting dinosaurs, and you're like, have we been overthinking stuff? Can we just make a movie about like this? And honestly, if the acting is good enough and if it looks good enough, it's totally entertaining. Whatever. Like, do we need twist endings? Do we need can we get too complicated? Do we just it's a dude with a gun fighting dinosaurs? Like, I'll watch it in a millisecond. Sometimes I really want to be stimulated by something artistic, but sometimes I can just watch something simple in concept that's artistically done and get out of here, man. It's great.
You're saying keep it simple, stupid is what you're trying to.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, yeah. Don't overthink yourself. Like, don't you look at a movie like that has also, except for like he narrates. This is gonna drive me crazy. Hang on.
Nah, do you think, brother?
Where's my Star Wars movies? There we go. Star Wars, Force Awakens. Adam Driver. Sorry, there we go.
Adam Driver, yeah.
Adam Driver. Yeah. Anyway, what was I saying? But like, yeah, like don't discount if you just have. I really, and I've said this to other people too. Like, one really good simple idea is worth a lot. Like, you can hang some dressing on it and fancy it up and stuff, but like really like a strong, simple, good idea is something you can get a lot of mileage out of, and just roll with that. So don't discount that. And there's a lot of people writing a lot of stuff and everything. And I always, every time I come up with a cool idea, I'm convinced there's got to be 10 other people in this town with the same idea. It's just part of the zeitgeist. There's no way I just emerged with something completely unique. But the trick is to find your own way of doing that one idea and do it and try to do it better than other people have done it, maybe, or at least do it your own way. And then you've got something unique. Then you're not, being repetitious and riffing off of something else.
Makes sense. Is that how you kind of approach all your films?
I think so. I try to. It's funny because End Times came out recently, and it's about during the zombie apocalypse. It's about an older mercenary who befriends this younger woman and teaches her and trains her on how to survive in this new kind of landscape. And she's just this suburbanite type girl who has no skill sets that would enable her to do that. And we shot it so long ago that our visual effects artist was also currently working on the Last of Us video game. And then took us long enough to have the film come out that The Last of Us had come out as a show on HBO Max or whatever series with and when then our film comes out and they're like, oh, it's kind of like The Last of Us. Meanwhile, we had made our film way before that ever happened. So, and you can get bummed about stuff like that, or you can just go, hey, well, any comparison to something produced on that level, then I'll take. That's great.
It's a good way to kind of pitch it too to people watching it. They're like, oh,
it's like Last of Us, except not as much money. Yeah, okay. but maybe we succeed
in
a few things that they weren't able to. You never know.
It's got a more real, raw, grittier.
Yeah, it's raw and real. Yeah.
It's artistic, man.
It can't be anything better. It's artistic. Yes, exactly. No, I'm very proud of that film. I mean, and at the end of the day, I think the main thing is I'm proud of every film I've made, just about, maybe with one exception. I don't know. Whatever. Things get compromised. Inevitably, even in the big scale of things get compromised. Things don't work out right, and there's a lot of problem solving. But at the end of the day, if you can just look at your body of work, whether it's music you've written, movies you've made, books you've written, anything, art you've painted, if you can be proud of it all, but also see that each one you've tried new things and gotten a little bit better at it, at your craft, then that's success to me. I mean, money's great, and money's, obviously, but that's artistic success. And I think at the end of the day, if you look back at, trying to make a career out of doing stuff like this, that's what counts to me.
I mean, it looks like you kind of done that as far as me. Are you still working on hired projects, or are you more just focused on your own specific movie?
Yeah, it's a mix and match of things. I have gotten to a point where now I do have some people talking to me about doing some work for them, just bringing my skill set to whatever their project is going on. And I've started doing that a little bit because that's time value wise, that's easier for me. I can kick out some ideas and write some stuff, and someone can go off and make that if possible, raise the money, not raise the money, succeed, fail. I mean, that's the time effort put into that is not on my clock. So great. And you're still trying to put together a year's worth of income. You're trying to make a living, right? So that's great. But I have gotten to a point where certain people are trying to follow me and see what they can do to further what I'm trying to do as a way to bring things to a next level. And that's kind of some exciting stuff that, some 2024 meetings and news and stuff that's still upcoming. That's kind of exciting. But then at the same time, I'm talking about challenging myself. This next thing I'm prepping to do is it's really a story about people, and there's no car chases, fight scenes, monsters, gore, anything. It's really, I mean, it's got a vaguely sci-fi kind of concept, but beyond that, it's just like I wanted to prove to myself that I could make a movie that doesn't have all those things in it. I could just make a movie about people and
Mhm.
write characters that would engage people and hold their interests. You know, when you do genre stuff, you are to some degree limiting your audience, right? Like X amount of people I have found, even friends of mine, will not watch my horror movies because they just don't watch horror movies. And that's, you
Yeah.
know, they can't do it. And then a certain amount of people aren't going to really dig into martial arts because it's just not in their thing. And that's fine. That's just, everyone's got their own zone of stuff they like. But ideally, as an artist, you want the most amount of people to be able to enjoy what you do. And so at least sometimes it might be fun to do something that X person, that person would go see it and they would talk to their friend about it and stuff like that. That's all. But the other challenge is to do the genre stuff that, and someone will watch who doesn't even like horror movies will watch your horror movie and be like, there's good characters and I really cared about that and stuff, and it's not just chicks running around the woods at night, all covered in blood and stuff. You try to elevate. I try to elevate what I'm doing a little bit because I think then it does just expand your audience to some degree, and the more people, the better.
I agree, man. What
Yeah.
what issues are you having as a filmmaker? Are you having trouble on is it trouble with the funding? Um or where are you at on that? Because I think the biggest thing that I've ran into with other filmmakers is they always say the same thing. I can't find the finances or I'm having trouble raising money. What have you found as a filmmaker is some of the
I,
hardest,
I mean,
challenges?
that's the primary obstacle. I'm at a point now where I'm like you you do one thing and then you want to do the next thing and you want it to be a little bit bigger and the next thing a little bit bigger. So, the what would have gotten your thing made a couple of years ago is not going to get the thing you're trying to make now made. So you're climbing up a little bit budget
Mhm.
wise and in your scope of what you're trying to do. so that presents new challenges because now it's not like somebody who's like dad is a dentist is going to kick in a couple grand and you're going to get your movie made. Now it's like you're really dealing with amounts of money that is taxable, and you have LLCs and things that there's a lot of like structure to when you're talking about like 6 digits of
Oh
and
yeah.
more. um, that gets complicated and you need more people to work on that end of it with you and the legalities of things and who has rights and who has the other challenge I'm finding is really I'm getting more choosy with who I get into business
Mhm.
with these films, who comes in as a producer. Um, I've gotten to a point where I will say if someone wants to give me X amount to do something, that's not good enough. I want to make sure that this is someone, because it is like having kids, like we said, like
Yeah.
you're tied to somebody else. If you're co-producers of a movie, co-owners of a thing, you're tied to those people forever. Like it's like you have shared custody of a child, and if you even if you fall out, you're still connected, and it's
Yeah.
like you got divorced, right? Like you're so I'm getting at the same time I'm trying to go up a couple levels in the scope of what I'm trying to make. I'm also getting more selective with who I work with.
Mhm.
And that's sort of the tug of war challenge, is to I just want to make sure who I'm working with quality people, that I'm going to want to continue working on over and over. Like, I remember being young, and this isn't to say anyone's evil or bad or anything that I've worked with. I'm just, I'm getting more selective. I remember when I was young, and like you'd hear about like really successful bands breaking up, and I remember thinking like, why would you break up? You're so successful. Why would you ever break up? And now I get to this point, I'm like, I kind of can't believe any creative partnership lasts decades. Like there's too much other stuff coming in on the sides, kind of. Um,
Mhm.
I can't imagine the someone like Aerosmith or something like that, maintaining that thing, because there's so much other stuff that gets in the way of just the simple thing you're trying to do. There's so much business in it, and that's the main thing I don't think a lot of people are ready for when they go into film, is
Mm.
how much business there is to movie making. It's you want to think of it as just a solely creative aspect, and it's absolutely not. It's absolutely like a 50-50 kind of thing. And if you can get out something that you're proud of artistically, out of all that financial and legal and business morass, then you've won at that point right there. Just doing that, because it's challenging.
Yeah. Yeah, I can definitely relate, man.
Yeah,
When you do take on certain producers, man, you are tied to them, and yeah, I
yeah,
didn't
yeah. You just
yeah,
need to be with
yeah.
the right people who, my producer on Killer X, Jose Torres, is also the lead actor, and I didn't know. I met him also through William Christopher Ford, and only 2 years ago, and here we are, like right at the end of a film. And it's been just a wonderful creative partnership where we each respect each other's lanes.
Mm.
He's like, you're the filmmaker. Here's some ideas, but like up to it, in the end of the day, it's up to you. There's a lot of respect that goes both ways, and for me to him too. Like he's newer into the filmmaking world, and so I'm trying to like help him take these steps into doing this, and he wants to keep going forward and making more stuff, and I enjoy working with the guy. So um that's just so refreshing. You're just like I said, there's so many other things you could do to make a living that would be easier than this. Like you need to be having fun doing it, and if not, then I mean, I reached a point even a couple of years ago where I was like, I just my wife said, like, you need to be having more fun doing this, or what are you doing? And I was like, you're right. Like, I think, yeah, exactly. It's too hard to not be enjoying it. So I'm grateful to be in a place now where I'm doing stuff I like, and I'm happy to be, I'm enjoying doing it. And I, like starting to film my own movies has been a huge kick, because now it's like I write, direct, and I'm also right there, especially with action stuff, with fight stuff. Like I love being like right in the moment, and sometimes the camera gets banged and everything, but that's you just feel like you have a lot of authorship in the end result of what you're doing.
And are you normally running camera on the smaller productions like that?
This has been the first film I've shot like second unit and pickup stuff myself
Mm.
on some of my other films. I shot like B camera and stuff just to be, because I do like to be in there. But
Mm.
this is the first one I said, as part of the idea of doing this, I'm going to be filming this myself, and I was really stressed about doing that because it's not my primary skill set, and I've been not happy with things I filmed before, but in saying I'm going to do this, it forced me I'd say I basically went to YouTube cinematography school. Like I just watched hundreds and hundreds of hours of stuff on cameras and on aperture and t-stop and shutter speed and angles and everything. I was like, oh, okay. Like all that stuff. When I would talk to my directors of photography on other films, and they'd say stuff, and I'd be like, oh yeah, that sounds good. No idea.
You're like, I don't know what
I finally kind of know what they're talking about. So I'll text my Chad Courtney, who's been my DP on a couple of films, and I'll be like, oh, hey, I was wondering about this lens thing, and the what's the fall off on this? Like, I'll purposely use these terms that like, look what
yeah.
I know now.
You're like, I'm cool. I know a fall off.
I know
What's
about
that?
fall off now. Yeah. But the flip side of that is also the camera technology has just gotten so much better, even the last couple of years from what it was a couple of years ago. Like I had a Black Magic
Mhm.
that I shot
Pocket
stuff
camera,
on what?
the Pocket, Black
Yeah,
Mag.
Pocket Cinema. Yeah.
It's
That I
them.
shot kind of second unit and stuff on Immortal Fists
Mm.
on, and since then I've changed over and gone into the Sony realm, and I'm just like, even like from 3 years difference, the Sony camera versus the old Blackmagic is like night and day.
Really?
Its ability to shoot in low light is incredible. Just the versatility. I can put it on a tripod. I can control it with my smartphone. I mean, it's because it has its own Wi-Fi. It's ridiculous. Yeah.
That's dope.
Um, yeah, it's incredible. So that all is to say that the less you're worried about the technical stuff and the more intuitive you're being, I think the better the end result's going to be. So I think it's easy to get caught up in measuring the light and everything and making everything perfect. And then there's something to be said for just getting in there and and doing the shot and getting the emotional thing that you're trying to do, even if there's technical imperfections.
Yeah, then you can kind of feel what's going on within the scene too, I think, when you're kind of within it, looking through
Yeah.
it. So
And then when I get into editing the film, if something's not right, I only have myself to blame. It's like, I screwed that up. Okay.
you're like,
What are we doing now? Yeah,
who
exactly. Right.
shot that? Oh shit, it
Yeah.
was me.
Yeah. There's a few shots. We shot some stuff out on a boat, my friend's sailboat out in the Pacific here for the film. And I got back and it was so bright and the sun was so bright, and we're in California obviously, and it's bouncing off the water, and I could barely see the monitor and everything. And I come back, it's like there's some shots where the focus is just way off, or the the matte box you can see is like coming in on the thing. And that's about the time I switched over into the newer camera gear and stuff. I was like, okay, this is a mess. So I'm going out and refilming that and everything. So, but that's, it's owning your own failings and mistakes too.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely part of the beast, man. Where can
Yeah.
people find you, man? I think, do you have like a website? Are you on YouTube? Like, where you at, man?
Yeah, I'm all around. I have a website called gymtowns.com. It's mostly for my writing work, but I
Okay.
do have a lot of short stories and everything on there, and links to things I've written. You can check it out. Mostly, I'm on all the socials. If you just look up Jim Towns or Jim Towns Films on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, I'm all over there. I do have a YouTube channel. I haven't. I'm meaning to sort of pick up on it. I've got a director's reel on there that's like from 2016 or something.
Okay.
I've shot quite a few things since then. I need to upgrade. But yeah, I do hope to start being a more online presence in 2024. Some of the newer camera stuff that I'm working with also works as like live streaming and camera gear and stuff. And I'd like to start, not broadcasting, but being more of a presence of like, look, I've been doing this for quite a few years. If you're just kind of getting into this thing, maybe here's some ideas or here's some tips and stuff, and have a little bit more interaction with people that are following my work too. I think that'd be really fun.
Nice. Yeah, I think that's the best way to go, man. I found just from what I've been doing, I love this stuff because like what we're doing right now, I can just take it, cut it, put something together, throw it online, and instantly see, hey, what are people responding to? And it
Yeah.
gives you a nice gauge, It gives you a nice gauge of people can see who you are. It's almost like I would say like kind of a reality show in a way. It gives people a sense of who you are and connect with you, to actually feel an interest for your projects,
Yeah.
like how people are
Interaction with,
yeah.
And there's other people out there that are like into the same stuff as you, and that's a good measure of as you're moving forward through doing your stuff.
Yeah, 100%, man.
That's great, man. Thank you
Yeah,
so much for having me on. This has been a really great conversation.
dude, it's been great. Yeah, I really appreciate you taking the time.